Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Taking Over. Yes, you're not dreaming. I am by myself. Ed had some connection issues today, so he's unable to join me for this episode. Hopefully, he'll be here next week. But we're here to talk about some NXT. So let's get on to it. It's like there's nothing else we can do but talk about NXT and everything that's going on, and it's so much happening here. I love the build up here for Heatwave so far. It's going pretty well. They have been kissing a lot, so we'll see how that goes. First, definitely want to start with how the show opened, which was with the number one contender Battle Royal, 25 men. I'm gonna list all the guys that I saw because I had to take pictures to make sure that I had known everybody that was there for the Battle Royal itself. So from what we saw on TV, Javon Evans made his entrance there alongside with the man himself. Oh, there we go. Andre, this is going to be the most naturally awesome show. Oh, no, don't give me that kind of pressure. I'm already nervous doing this by myself. Um, Not an easy task. So let me tell you that. We started with Javon Evans, and then after him, we had none other than the man himself, Joe Hendry. Yay! He did appear. So somebody said his name. He did appear in NXT programming. So very excited about that. We also had Ethan Page, Apollo Cruz, Frankie Kazarian. If you hadn't seen it, because it wasn't part of the show, if you go to NXT's social media accounts, you will find the videos that they put of people doing their entrances that they didn't put during the show. So Cass was the first one to come out officially before everybody else from the NXT roster came out. They saved Javon Evans, Joe Henry, and Ethan Page for like the main show when the show started. We have Frankie Kazarian, we have Tyler Bate, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Alexis King, Rich Holland, Sean Spears, Tony D'Angelo, Tank Ledger. I was kind of surprised that he was there even by himself, but we'll know a little bit later on about that. Nathan Frazier. I'm kind of upset that there was Nathan and no Axiom in this match. How could you do that to me? I don't know how, but it happened. Dragon Lee, Eddie Thorpe, Tavian Heights, Charlie Dempsey, Damon Kemp, Miles Bourne, Dante Chen, Idris Enofe, Malik Blade, and Luca Crucifino. So those are our 25 men for this battle royal. And right off the bat, I love the face off that we get from Ethan and Joe Hendry. Just wish it would have been a little bit longer. Unfortunately, it was not. So yeah, I feel like we're definitely going to get a little bit more Joe Hendry in NXT in the future. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. There's also a video of him talking to Sean backstage saying that his appearance wasn't good enough, that he wants more and he'll be on any show anytime he wants. So somebody please say his name because I want him to appear again. Please. So right as the bell rings, we do get that Kazarian eliminates Ethan Page. I did miss his elimination, but before the elimination happened, Ora Mensa came in the ring. He wasn't part of the match itself, and he attacked Ethan Page, and he took him out, but Ethan wasn't eliminated because the match had already started. Thank you to Mark for pointing that out because I was not paying attention when that happened. So I only paid attention once the match started, and I thought Ethan got eliminated, and he wasn't. We'll know more about that later on because being NXT, they do things for a reason. So I was glad they brought it up. I just thought it was going to last longer. I didn't think it was going to happen in the same show, but it happened. But technically, we do have Ethan didn't get eliminated, and then the bell rings. The match officially starts. Oh, I forgot. I think it was Mark Coffey was the other one that was there in the match, if I'm not mistaken. I always forget which one of the coffees it is. Don't come at me for that one. Um, so we do have Damon betrays Miles during the match. He takes him out. We do have an interaction between Angel Garza and Alexis King, and also Tank takes out Angel, which is very surprising to see. Dragon Lee and Nathan had a great interaction by the apron there in the front too. That kick from Dragon Lee looked like nasty in such a good way to Nathan, and he eliminated him. The last couple of men were Kaz, Rich Holland, Dragon Lee, Javon Evans, Tyler Bate, and Sean Spears. We do have an interaction as well from Dragon Lee and Javon Evans. That was really well done. I would love to see that. Another one from Sean Spears as he takes on Dragon Lee and Javon takes on Sean. So Javon wins the match. So at that moment, we do get Javon Evans that it's going against Strickland at NXT Heatwave. But we'll see later on what happens about that. Um, Overall, I think it just I like the match. I think just the disappointment in here would have been Joe Henry getting eliminated as quick as he did by Cass. And other thing that Mark pointed out in the OLE Discord, because I hadn't watched Against All Odds yet from TNA, this is part of the storyline that they have from TNA. So that's why Cass took out Joe Henry to start the show. So it was really, really well done. The continuity that we get from the storylines there across the board from both companies. I just disappointed that it wasn't a lot of time for Joe Henry, but he did get his entrance during the show, so a lot of people were able to see that on TV. He was able to give a promo before the match really started, so I think he got a good spotlight in that sense of it. And again, like I said it last week, I think it's a good opportunity for them to do this in Orlando because a lot of people know the crowd from Orlando. Or they know the people from TNA, so that works out for the reactions that they get. So it makes sense to me the way they're doing this. But it was, I think, overall like a fun match. I like the people that were here. I think the only one that was kind of random would have been a Tank for me, but we'll know a little bit more about that. But even later on, we do hear from Wesley saying that he got the opportunity to be in the match, but actually he declined it. So that would make sense why he wasn't in there either. But again, there's so many people in this match, and I like the mix of we got two people from TNA, people from the main roster, people from NXT. It was a good mixture there. After this, we do get the women's locker room. We have Carmen Petrovic, Carlee Bright, Brinley Reese, Soul, and Ren Sinclair. And I later found out because I didn't know her name was Kendall Gray. And they're talking about Carlee and Carlee winning a championship match. And Fallon comes out and is like, "You only had one match. How do you win a title match? Well, you only have one match. You kind of have to like you work your way through it." And she starts fighting with the girls. So that later on leads on to the match that they have. And this is, again, another one of those things that keeps happening in the women's locker room. Somebody has something to say, somebody else hits them, and the match gets set up for later. So I feel like this is a new trend for the women's locker room happening now. Um, right after this, we get Lola that she's training, and we do have Roxanne that's coming to see her. And Roxanne kind of warns her and tells her, "I know how you will look at the championship. Don't even think about it," kind of thing. And Lola said, basically, "I'm not coming after you yet." So Roxanne is kind of thinking in her mind, let's take care of tonight and then we'll see what happens next, kind of thing. So I did like that interaction that she did acknowledge that Lola was staring at the championship as the segment happened last week. So I like that continuity there as well. And the fact that Roxanne's like, "I'm not afraid of you, but I also don't want you near my championship." So I like that part, especially when it's a heel and heel. So we'll see how that happens later on between them. We also have Chase U. We have Thea with Andre and Rich and Hudson, and we have the OC Luke Gallows and Karl interrupting, and they're like, "Oh, Rich is part of the group," and they're like mocking him for being officially part of Chase U, which leads to a match between all of them later on in the show as well. And here we have the women's tag match, which is Jazmyn Nix and Jayne versus Roxanne and Lola versus Last Legend and Jakara. One of my favorite things about this match is the fact that we have the three women in the match all the time, each one for each one of the teams. So it's not one of those matches that we get to and you had to tag somebody in, things like that. So I really like that part, the part that there's involvement for every single team. Ew, wait, a wild Ed.
I have internet again, briefly, so we'll see how
Yay!
long this lasts. My
We'll have
computer's
you here
telling me
as
I
long
don't
as it
have
works.
much internet according to StreamYard, but I'm here.
Yeah, that happens to me quite often. So, I I didn't think you watched the show, did you?
I saw the main event. I saw a portion of the main event.
A portion that doesn't work
I
for
saw
me.
a portion of the main event.
Okay, well, I'll tell you about this tag match because I think you might
There
like
we
it
go.
just a tiny bit, maybe just a little bit. We'll see. Um, but what I liked about it the most is like we had three girls in the ring at all times. It was somebody from every team. Usually we don't get that. They do have to tag in and out to somebody else in another team, and I hate when they do matches like this so much. It's like I would like to see somebody from every team, even if it's three, four teams, at least being three, four individuals in the match in itself. Um, I feel like Lash really was the one that really stood out in this match, and I feel like I would like to see your reaction when you watch this though, because there's moments that she does. I forgot what she calls it though, but it's the move that she grabs somebody and she puts them between the ropes and nothing really happens. But she had Jacy on one side and Roxanne on the other one, and she looked very badass, just holding on to both of them as she did. It just reminded me of Jay Cargill in that sort of way when she did that. Um, there was a part though. that Jacy almost stole the victory in. Holy crap, I was scared because I thought it was gonna happen, but uh it Lash we had a moment that Lash took out Lola and Jacy too, and I really love that. And they did a double team on Jacy. I love that double team between Lash and Jakara. Really well done as a team in this match. I really love watching them together. Jazmyn broke it up, and obviously with her Pele kick because that's all she knows how to do. Apparently, I that's what I gathered from her so far. Unfortunately, I want to see more from her, but that's all I see. Um, so Lola hits the back fist on Jakara, and she's gonna go for the pin to get the win, but she backs out too much, and Roxanne tacks herself in, does the pop rocks, and wins the match. And I really like that because she's like, "No, I'm getting the win because I'm the champion, not you." And she's like, "What the heck are you doing?" I was like, Roxanne's in the corner. Look at we got
Hello,
Bobby.
thank you for
I'm
joining Astrid as she talks to me about NXT. I'm just here to learn and listen.
no, it's gonna be a lot of me talking. This is weird.
Well, now you've got somebody to play off of, even if I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this sounds like it was a good match. This is the type of thing I would have enjoyed. This combination of women leads to some interesting things because to me it kind of puts like a women's championships division here on one side of the team, and each other side of the team feels like a North American women's champion potential. Like you have Jazmyn, you have Lola, you have Jakara. Those all feel like people who would be going after the North American Women's Championship. And then you have Roxanne, Lash, Jacy, this group of women who feel like they belong in that upper echelon of the NXT women's division. And it's this nice contrast of styles there. Now, like I said, I don't know how the match played out, but in my mind, I'm like, this sounds like a perfect idea. When we talked about it last week, I'm like, it's all leading to a tag team match. And I still don't like the idea of Lola Vice and Roxanne playing strange bedfellows with the whole "we are friends, we aren't friends, we're a tag team," Latin ladies for the win, shake my ass. I don't like any of that, but like it all kind of fits.
And it ended very quickly because when the match ended, Roxanne's holding to the championship here, and you see Lola looking at it for a moment. So Roxanne switched hands with the championship, and they raise their hands together. And Roxanne takes that moment to hit the back fist on Lola and take her down, and then she leaves the ring. So I was like, yes, I love her going. Be like, no, I'm putting the last note in this, and I'm giving you the summation board before I leave. So she took advantage to run that. So Aspen's like, no, we're gonna do this tag team match first. Once we finish this, then I'm gonna get rid of you, basically. And I have a feeling not only that, it doesn't sound terrible, but based on the video, like kind of video package they use for Heatwave later on in the show with the Latin music, I have a feeling that's gonna be Roxanne and Lola, and then we get Julia kind of being presented like she's officially part of the roster. I think that's what's gonna happen because the music had like Latin kind of feel to it, and based on the interaction between Roxanne and Lola, I have a feeling it's gonna be both of them. And then Roxanne wins. She wins the championship.
You mean Toronto's not Latin enough for you? Toronto's not, Latin flavor?
No. But
I've heard people jumping in saying that Roxanne outsmarted Lola.
Yeah,
Like that.
I really love that too. I love the part of like Lola looks at the championship, but Roxanne's like, no, I'm a step ahead of you. She switches it and gives her the back fist like that, and I was like, I really love that ending there. But it just gave me the feeling of like we're gonna see Roxanne and Lola, and then Roxanne wins, and she's like, basically, there's nobody that can beat me, and then we get the Julia presentation, and Julia gets her for the next PLE after that. So I feel like that's probably the presentation, unless we get Lola before Heatwave somehow. That could happen too. Who knows? But
we can't.
Either way,
there's only 2 weeks. But unless they do Lola next week, like they've
no,
only
so far
got
nothing.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, more or less.
Because Money in the Bank is what, the fifth, right?
No.
Isn't Julia hurt? Yes and no. Julia is hurt. However, she's still apparently working the match for Stardom. Against Sari, I believe, is that match that she's working for the Marigold Women's Championship, right? They're introducing the Women's Championship at Marigold, and I believe it's her versus Sari. For those from NXT who remember, it would be that would be Saray.
So they do have a little bit over 2 weeks for the build if they were to do because it's July 7th. So
yeah, okay, July 7th.
I don't know. So I do have a feeling if we don't get Julia, we're probably gonna be Lola, and it's gonna be one of those like Roxanne beats, and then we get Julia being presented as officially part of the roster, be like kind of like I'm next. So and I feel like it's gonna give Roxanne that kind of confidence that she's gonna be like, who's gonna beat me? If you haven't beat me, if Jordan didn't beat me, this one didn't beat me, can I go with her list,
Nope.
and then we get Julia.
They're going to reiterate that word. Nobody in the world can beat me. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Cue the music.
Yeah.
Out comes Julia. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, oh, really? Nobody in the world can beat you, huh,
Yeah.
little girl?
Yeah, that's exactly what I pictured as for the ending of this match. Exactly that, because that's how, based
And
on
she's
the
going
wording
to,
they've been using.
should main
Yeah,
event. The
yeah,
way they're building the chaos around the NXT men's title, that should be, if they're going to debut Julia like that, that's my main event. And the thing comes
yeah.
out with Julia standing in front of her, and
Hmm.
no offense to all the lovely short ladies here, towering over Roxanne. Because
Yeah.
Roxanne is 5 foot what, 2, maybe 5'3". Isn't Julia
Yeah.
like 5'8"? Like she's big for a woman, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you go ahead and talk about the next match while I take a look at that?
Okay, so after that we had is Ava's office. We do have Javon talking about the match and how he wanted it. He's the number one contender, and Ethan comes out, pleads his case of like I never got eliminated. So basically I should be the one contender too. So Javon has the great idea of going, no, we're gonna be in the main event against each other. I don't think he specified if the number one contendership was on the line. He just said like he was going against Ethan in the main event. And Eva said, well, that's a great idea. If you're able to, we'll do it. We do have Michin coming up backstage. I was like, why are those things happening? That scared me.
Julia is 5'4",
Um,
Roxanne is 5'1",
yeah, okay.
so slightly
Uh,
towering.
yeah. We do have Kelani coming out, and Soul. It's like saying hi to her and saying like, basically, you got this, and then fist bump. And then when Soul looks back, they do have Ariana Grace right there and Izzy Dame, and there's somebody else, but I couldn't see who she was, and like she was more in the background, and they took it off really quickly when that happened. I feel like it almost looks like the people that are going against Kalani soon, because we do get the glimpse of like we're gonna get um, Soul and Ariana next week. And then we obviously saw Ariana, Izzy, and I don't know who else was in the last one. I think she was wearing white, but I have to look back and see if I can catch her. Um, After this, we had Kelani versus Michin. Michin comes out with the OC. I really like the match between these two. I love especially the ending because it was very creative in that way. Because we do get the moonsault from Kalani, you think she's gonna win and she doesn't. So Mia comes out and does her little sit down power bomb, and it almost looks like she's going to win. Like she actually does it. We do get Bronco and Lucian coming out, and they have a face off with the OC. So when Meeching is in the post, Jada Parker comes in, pushes her, and Kalani's able to take advantage of that. And I really like that ending because in a way it protects Meechin still from from what happened. It progresses that part between her and Jada. And the only thing it feels weird having Kalani taking advantage as a baby face of kind of like a distraction like that. But in the end, we do want her to keep the championship. So I feel like it's a good way to protect both of them in itself. But again, the match was really well done and here as well. I really enjoyed it. Right after that, we had the interview with Ethan. He talks again that he wasn't eliminated and that he basically he lists a couple things that he has to do. Like, I gotta go against Javon Evans and I gotta take out Oro next time I see him, and then going against Trick. So we do get, I think it's Kelly that interviews him. She's like, well, there goes Ethan with his long list of things to do because he has a lot going on. Um, and after that, we get a good, I think you're gonna enjoy this one too. Video package from Izzy, and it's a good way to really like introduce us to her. And this is what I was talking about. I think it was last week that I mentioned that we needed something from her to know her backstory because we don't have anything from her, especially now that Kiana's not with her. It's like, so now we get a little bit of a backstory about her. She used to play volleyball, and they do have her in a volleyball court playing and just giving her like a little bit of a glimpse of what she was. And my favorite line from this is that she said, WWE is the one that wanted me. And it's like, wait until I can basically like not perfect this, but like get better at this, and you'll see a lot better from me. And I like the way she worded that. Like Debbie wanted me and wait until like I can kind of like master this is kind of what she used as her wording, and then like I'll basically take over the whole world once I do. So I really liked the way she said that, and I like this profile because it's something that I had mentioned. We do need like a backstory from her so we can relate to her and like be able to like either cheer or boo her, and we didn't have anything like that for her before. So I'm glad that they finally did something like this to give us more of a glimpse of what she is.
I like
Um,
when they're highlighting the ball and the speed and stuff with her. It's in
yeah.
green.
Mm-hmm.
It's more because I was gonna make the joke, is she wearing green? Is anything in green? And every time they're highlighting her hitting the ball on the volleyball thing,
Mm-hmm.
they highlight the ball in green.
Yeah.
All the text for the thing are all in neon green on the
Yeah.
outline. I'm like, all right, cool. The green thing is a thing that they know that they're doing. All right, cool. I'm down for this.
I told you, and then now you can say the difference between Izzy and Carmen.
I mean, multiple people are going to eventually wear green. It's
Yeah.
fine for now, but eventually we're gonna get the thing.
Yeah.
Seeing the Heatwave ad that you talked about, and I get the feel, but they're talking about how hot. It's hot. It's Heatwave. It's hot.
Yeah. Yes, but still, it just gives me Lola vibes. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't like it either. But
well, you know what? If they want me to cheer for Roxanne, they've got to put her against people that I hate even more than Roxanne. And if that's the case, they're going to find one of them that they can manage to make that happen. Lola Vice is probably the one.
yeah, I definitely get that now. After this, we had the promo from Oba. I missed a little bit of it, but the parts that really stood out to me was that he said there was nobody like him. And he said, read me this. Who's gonna be able to take this title from me?" And I love the timing of here when he says that Wesley's music happens, and Wesley mentions like, "Oh, there's people from the main roster, like a Big E, like he's mentioning you as a like big star and everything, and they like highlight you as the North American champion, kind of like forgetting that I was North American champion." So it's like I need that championship back to like really tell people like I was a really that put that championship on the map, to put it like that. Um, I like the back and forth they had here too, and he even mentioned, which I'm glad he did. He said that he was basically invited to be a part of the battle royal earlier, but he declined it because he wanted to focus on the North American Championship. And basically, Oba's like, no, like we're like basically we're done. So he just dismisses Wes. But I like the timing of this here when he's like, "Who's gonna beat me for this title?" And then Wesley's music happens. So it was really well done there. And after
I'm
this, we
watching it
switch
now.
over.
He's
He's got
got
what?
this, like, even coming out to the ring, he's starting to gain a little bit of swagger. Like, he's starting
Yeah.
to gain a little, like, as he's starting the promo, he's got a big smile on his face.
Mhm.
Like, he's falling into this character. He's gaining
Yep.
something. He may still be green, like the color of the background of his logo, but he's getting it. He
Mhm.
understands the little things he needs. Everything else he can learn. Because
Mhm.
right now, he is just loving life, being the North American champion,
Mhm.
being the big dude, and just doing his things. He's staring right down the camera. He's looking down the hard cam. He's like, one of the things that's so hard for these young talents is figure when WWE changes the camera, how to find where you're at. And he's moving around and he's moving his face without losing the camera. He's always finding what camera's on him. Like, I'm watching
Mhm.
this promo and it's on mute. I don't hear what he's saying. But every single time it's like, look down this camera, stop, back camera. And he's looking at people. He's looking at, that's fantastic work for somebody who's been doing this for what, a year?
Yeah, more or less.
Ed will cheer for Roxanne when she's up against Lash. No, I've changed my mind on that one. I would rather have Lash Legend as a temporary champion than deal with Roxanne right now. That little girl needs
Dang.
to be taught a lesson, and she's not been taught a lesson yet. Jordan didn't
Oh
teach her
gosh.
lesson. I'm worried. You know what I'm really worried about? That eventually this lesson is going to have to be quote unquote taught by Ava herself.
Hmm?
I'm really
Could
worried
be.
they're heading down that route. where Roxanne's going to demand a match against Ava. And I'm like, oh God, is Ava ready for that?
I thought about that too. That's another one that crossed my mind.
Speaking of people who are ready for things, Papa Smokes is ready for this Thursday. Hey, Ed and Astrid, ole! Ole to you as well, Papa Smokes. Can't wait to watch you on Thursday night. All right, so Oba, Femi, and Wesley go back and forth, and then what happens? Tell me more.
And then we get your favorite people, Hank and Tank.
Oh,
Hank is saying that Hank is saying that he got cleared from his shoulder injury, and Tank is talking about the Battle Royal. And they're like, well, now that I'm back, we can take over. So we're gonna aim towards the new Catch Republic. And at first, I thought it was the Candy Crew. So I was like, no, I got confused. What?
I have a question. When did Hank Tank get injured? Because I didn't know.
Me neither. I was so surprised. No,
like,
it was only.
You're like, I'm back from my arm injury. I'm like, what shoulder injury?
No idea. Yeah, it was only Hank, and he's like, yeah, I think he just said he got cleared. And at first, I thought they were going against the Candy Crew, and I was like, I don't want to see that. But then they mentioned Tyler Bay, and they're like, oh, we have our eyes set on the new Catch. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, why do you guys have two groups that have so many similar names? Like, it's too close to each other. I don't like it. It's not helping my notes. After this one, we did have Fallon versus Carlee, right? But this is a but first. So before this happened, we have Tavian Heights with the no quarter catch crew backstage. And this is again, you know how we had the not the promo, like the promo I guess they had together. And Charlie's like, oh, did you hear that? And then this guy, Miles, is like, I didn't hear it. And they had that type of dynamic. So Tavion's like, oh, he's like, well, what are you doing here? They Miles tell you what you're doing here. And then he's like, Miles, did you tell him what he was doing here? And Miles is like, I didn't hear that. And then he goes back and just keeps going like nothing happens, like with no explanation whatsoever in the context of it. So he says, Tavion, you're gonna get against Damon next week, but they really don't say much about that, and Tavion just leaves. But again, we go back to like that line of like, I didn't hear that, and then he just keeps going like nothing happened, which is kind of funny there too. But I really like that interaction because he just keeps going with what we had before.
Then we get top shelf Fallon Henley in her fancy cow that she killed from the farm.
No lie, once I saw this like that, it reminded me of Inspector Gadget. I just aged myself with how young I am, or probably by saying that. But it just reminded me of that trench coat when I saw that at first. And I didn't think about that when I saw her at Battleground, though. But I did now with the shot here.
You and I watched a very different version of Inspector Gadget. I don't know what Inspector Gadget in Puerto Rico wore, but our Gadget wore like a plain brown trench coat.
I know, but it just reminded me of the trench coat.
Ours do not wear cow-colored trench coat with a cowboy hat.
The trench coat just reminded me of it, though. I thought it was funny. Now that I see the shot like that. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when was the last time we had anything from NXT Anonymous? I feel like I don't remember.
It had been a while. I just saw it as I was, flipping through the show here on my DVR.
Yeah. So I was surprised about that because I was trying to think back when was the last time we got anything from it, and I couldn't remember. But there's a video of Gallows just talking backstage. I forgot who they were talking about, and somebody just started attacking them, and it was Tyson and Tyreek attacking them, and the referees had to stop it. But again, I have to go back to the Twitter account because I don't remember the last time we got anything from the anonymous account. So we have Fallon and Carlee Bright starting. The match was like okay for me. The highlight is obviously what happened during the match in itself. It was the part that Wendy is standing behind Kendall, and obviously Kendall doesn't know. So Carlee she does like a sleeper hold on her, and Carlee kind of brings it to her attention. It's like she gets distracted, and Wendy takes out Kendall, and Fallon's able to win as well from the like distraction. Nothing really major in that one. But right after this, we get Eddie Thorpe is leaving. And he gets asked about the Battle Royal. And he's like, well, I didn't win it, but he's like, I'm still focused. Like, I just came back from my injuries, and that's something of the past now. I'm just going to focus on getting a championship. He's like, whether it's Trick, whether it's Oba, or even the Heritage Cup, I don't care. But in the background is what really stands out to me because I didn't notice it before. But it was like there was a moment that in the Oba Wesley promo, it looks like Wesley kind of stopped for a moment, and it's because Brooks Jensen was getting arrested for trespassing in the venue. So when Eddie's doing his interview, there's a cop car like in the opposite corner where Eddie is, and somebody's getting arrested and taken to the cop car. A lot of people are thinking it's probably Brooks because it was obviously really intentional with the shot because we had Eddie on one corner and the cop car in the other corner, and it was a little bit farther away, so you really couldn't see who was getting taken out, but most likely it was him. Next we do get.
Look at the top corner.
Well, you sound robotic. I think I lost you.
How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Am I better now? All right. If you look up here in the top corner, you can see the people being walked to the police car back here. But and also NXT Anonymous. I get to do a lot of fact checking for Astrid tonight. April 16th was the last time they posted something. Ridge Holland with Ava and Raul. Walking Wild. Walking Wild. He hasn't been renamed. He's still Walking Wild.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's been a while.
Yeah, there's Eddie. Here you go, Mel. You get to see Eddie. Take a few seconds of that before we get demonetized. But
so after this, we had Andre Chase and Duke versus Gallows and Anderson. This was another one that is mostly about really what happened with the storytelling because I don't remember how it happened, but Andre gets taken out. He's like literally outside of the ring, and Thea's taking care of him. And Rich takes advantage and is able to help Duke get the win for the match. And Duke is very surprised when it happens, but Rich is like celebrating because we did get the win. We're obviously taking advantage of that part. But Duke looks very surprised, and like everybody from Chase is like celebrating. But he still kind of looks like he keeps staring at Rich like, I wasn't expecting you to do that. I didn't want that to happen, sort of thing. So I know this is something that definitely will get some more attention next week. And then we get Trick and Javon. He's like checking on him, congratulating him for being the #1 contender. And then, ironically, we can hear Vic saying that he got a text from Trick Williams and he's going to join them in commentary for the main event. So I think Booker makes fun of him because he doesn't believe that Trick actually texted Vic as it was happening. So he's like, "No, I got a text from him. I swear I got a text that he's going to join us." So he definitely doesn't believe him. So I thought that part was really funny. And then we go on to again. We're back in Ava's office. She's with Stone, Stevie Turner, and Kelani. And Kelani said, "Well, for my next challenger, I think it should be somebody that's really nice and somebody that doesn't really complain and this and that." And it makes you think like a Stevie Turner because she's standing right there beside her, beside them. But then we have Ariana coming in, and she's like, "Oh, you don't talk. You shouldn't be talking about behind people's backs, but since it was something good, I'll let you keep talking though." And Kalani's like, "Well, she's nice and she doesn't complain." She's like, "Yeah, so who is this?" And she goes, "So Ruka." And Ariana goes, "So? Like, why so?" He's like, "I mean, she is nice, but like, I'm better than her." And she does have like a back and forth about Soruka. So Stone says, "Well, I have an idea. How about next week we do get Soruka versus Ariana Grace? And then you prove us if you're actually better than Soruka," which I'm guessing will be that Soul wins and then we get Soul versus Kalani sometime later on. Probably maybe Heatwave if anything. Yeah, but I did like the fact that Stevie's literally right there, and I don't know why I didn't do anything with her. So what was the point of her being there?
Like they're putting her on TV, so thumbs up, but like thumbs down.
I thought it was gonna be her, and I was like, "Oh, Stevie's gonna get the title match." I don't know what happened.
Someday our Stevie will get the attention that she do. You know what? She should. And the funny, all the NXT ladies are starting to do the whole Twitch stream thing. Like Ariana Grace is doing the Twitch stream thing. You've got a couple others doing this. Thea Hale just got podcasting equipment from her dad so that she can start doing something. So, God, I can't imagine how that podcast is going to go. Can you imagine that podcast with Thea Hale? Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that at all.
No.
But then we got Trick coming out for the main event, it looks like.
Yeah, but right before that, though, I forgot if it would happen during the match, but there's a graphic in the corner because they're not doing the recaps like they do for next week of telling us what we're getting next week. We're just getting the graphics in the corners. Like if you notice, you notice. If you don't, you don't. So they have Nathan versus Tony for the Heritage Cup that it's happening there. It's in the little corner for next week. So they didn't mention that, but it looks like it's happening based on that too. But I don't like it. They're not telling us what's gonna happen next week. They show the graphic. I'm like, I could easily miss it because I'm paying attention to the match and not the corner. But for the main event though, this was a fun main event. Javon like competing at the beginning and to end the show, so that's pretty amazing for him to get highlighted in that sort of way. The my thought process for this one though, I just kept thinking I don't want Javon to lose, but why would you bring Ethan here for him to lose again? Like that's was like, and I had you having with that back and forth that this was happening. So I did like that he does the Eagles Edge. He's get that highlight, and he is able to beat Javon. But they don't say anything about the network contendership just yet. They looks like they're just waiting for Ava to like officially announce what's gonna happen. But I do like the visual here because we do he goes and it confronts a Trick, and well, I got what you need, what you want is what Trick tells him. So he's about to attack him, and then all of a sudden we get a new point of view, and Sean Spears comes to the ring. He's attacking Javon Evans. Trick goes in there to tries to help him out, but then Ethan goes behind him. So now it's a 2-on-1 again. I don't know where Javon Evans get the energy from, but he attacked both Sean and Ethan, took them down, and I like the visual that we have from the camera from like bird's eye view because we have the four guys in the ring like this and the championship right in the middle to end the show. And I like that visual of like this looks like it's gonna be Heatwave because not only do we have Javon that won the Battle Royal, Ethan just beat him, and then I guess because Sean just beat Javon not too long ago, I guess it probably gets added to the match. So I did like that visual of like the championship being the focus, but the four people are like right there next to each other like this, and that's how we end the show. But I I feel like it was a pretty fun show. I think my only downfall was the fact that Joe Henry got eliminated too quickly. I was waiting for him to have a little bit more of a highlight. But based on that video with Shawn Michaels, it looks like we might see him again. So somebody say his name because I want him to appear again.
Yeah, that was definitely. I just saw the digital exclusive. Now I didn't get to see the whole thing, but I saw the Joe Henry was upset. So, and here's the shot that Astrid's talking about. That is really great. I wanted to talk about with this match. I thought Javon Evans is the perfect person to put over at a time. I understand it should be, and people thought it was going to be a TNA talent getting the win. I think it probably should have been. And I know Andre messaged me, and he's like, Javon Evans, seriously? And I'm like, I didn't know what it was about. I was just like, we were just mad about Javon Evans for some reason. I think Javon Evans is perfect. I think this is a perfect opportunity to let him go up against Trick and lose. I think it's perfectly fine to let Javon Evans, this young into his career, get a shot, lose, go back down the card, and fight his way back up. He's hot. The crowd loves him. They're not going to turn on Trick for beating him. It gives him an opportunity to really showcase in front of a big audience. And if it's the Fatal 4-Way, it makes it even more perfect because he's then got you've got two veterans with Sean Spears and Ego. And then you've got Javon and Trick, who are both a little bit greener. And it's this perfect compromise of all the talent. Combining two storylines, which I love. I love when they combine storylines to do bigger matches. I always think that that's a really cool idea. So to have this be a Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Championship as you're waiting to get whatever's next set, whether it be a Joe Hendry, whether it be a Kazarian or anything like that, it makes a lot of sense. And it makes Trick feel bigger to have so many people gunning for him. We talked about if Trick wins, earlier, who's next? Like we didn't have an idea as to who would be next. I love the idea that you don't know who's next. It could be a babyface. It could be a heel. It can be anybody. They're coming out of the woodwork to face Trick Williams. They didn't do this when it was Ilya Dragunov. Nobody came out of the woodwork to face Ilya Dragunov. But Trick Williams is holding that title and everybody's gunning for him. I love that idea because I don't think Trick's going to hold this for long. I don't think the Whoop That era shouldn't be that long, and it doesn't need to be that long. I think you can flip this title onto an Ethan Page in the next month or so. I don't hate that idea. I don't want to do it just yet. I want Trick to get another win or two. But I wouldn't, by the end of the summer, wouldn't be upset if we see all ego Ethan Page holding that championship and having some of those baby faces run through him and have him put them down. Because I think you're going to have to go a little further down the barrel to find those baby faces. But if you can move Axiom and Nathan out of the tag division and into something else, I think you've got two people right there that I think you can kind of Heritage Cup one, World Championship the other. And then if things don't go right, you flip-flop it. And you bring, one of them up. Like, so you have Nathan Frazier going for the Heritage Cup now. If he were to win, you could then have them lose the tag titles, and then boom, Axiom is a perfect contender for an all-ego Ethan Page towards the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall. And then you can start going down that babyface list on the men's side, which, yes, it's a bit thin, but I think you can make it work. And if you ever have a spot where you don't have anybody, boom, pull the TNA lever, and the prohibited portal opens up, and in comes a Joe Hendry, in comes Mustafa Ali, in comes Nick Nemeth. Like, you can bring these guys in to have him face off against Ethan Page, and they'll bring matchups because of where Ethan's been versus who he's been able to fight. There's so many different new matchups that you can put out there that I think the connection makes Trick Williams a little expendable in the short term.
And thinking also of this visual here of the four guys makes me think of, we're gonna get this tag team match either next week or the week before or the week after, before the pay-per-view, to make it end in a big brawl again, because we're definitely gonna get Sean and Ethan versus Trick and Javon to build this up again. So it's like seeing this visual, that's all I can think about. Is either they didn't mention it for next week so far, maybe they posted on social media, or if not the week after. So it definitely wouldn't surprise me they decide to go that route. And based on what you were saying, I was also thinking, what if we get, for example, we do have a Trick winning and pinning Javon, because Javon can actually recover from this, versus Shawn and Ethan, I wouldn't have them lose again so quickly. And then one of them could actually take turns and be the next one to go against Trick one-on-one. So it's like, I feel like Javon will be that person that could get pinned in this match, and it wouldn't hurt him in that sort of way, because he could get himself back up afterwards more than the other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Javon is so young and early into his career. I mean, hell, even to get this picture that we have above us, Javon had to reach, after he double cuttered off the top rope, both Spears and All Ego. He reaches underneath All Ego, grabs and tosses it in the middle of the ring to get it into position where they needed it. Like, he's got the smarts in his head where he knew the shot they needed and he made it work. Like, he's got something. The fans are behind him. The fans really enjoy him. He's talented enough in the ring. He needs more time, and he needs to round out that talent pool that he has going on. But there's a lot of good to be had from Javon Evans right now, and I think that this four-way makes a lot of sense. And I feel like it would be the great opening match for Heatwave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about Trick and main eventing, and I'm like, this would be a really good opening match.
No, and it's like we had the opportunity to main event with Jordan, and it didn't happen. And I feel like if Jordan was a big deal, I feel like Julia's an even bigger deal in that aspect when you think about the woman coming here, because she is signed to the company. So that's a bigger deal than just Jordan coming in and just being here for one pay-per-view and leaving. So to me, you do have this opening, and you have the Julia Roxanne face-off to end the show and keep it like that, and keep people talking of like, oh, when the next pay-per-view happens, we're definitely gonna Roxanne and Julia, we're gonna get that conversation going when the show ends. And I feel like that conversation needs to be the end of the show. So I feel like if you did a main event with Jordan, you definitely have a good opportunity for her. I don't want Lola to main event, but it's gonna be Lola and Roxanne, and then that Julia presentation is what's gonna take over the conversation in the end.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, there's something there. But Astrid, where can the people find you this week?
Don't have a lot this week. I'm just celebrating the fact that everything from weekend. I'm happy for Joe Gacy getting his call up to the main roster last night. That was really well done. John had reappearing here. Like I like my guys getting their highlight. Like, come on, it's like
Speaking
Two of my
speaking
favorite
of
people.
last night, why don't we go ahead and talk about that? We've got some time. You know, it's been a quick show. I haven't been here to waste the time and make you ramble a little bit here. What did you think of the Wyatt Six? SICKS.
I loved it, to be honest. It's like I said in their Discord, it's just like I can't believe like we got so excited over the door when we see the door happening because of the symbolism there. But I had goosebumps. I almost cried. I was teary eyed. I was shaking. I just love the visuals they had there. And if you haven't yet, like somebody like Weezy Blonda posted about the theory that she has behind the people that got attacked. It's like I do like that theory. If they do say like that's exactly and they confirm it, I was like, that's so like genius in that sort of way of how to get people involved in this. The visual, just even as a horror fan, I do like my spooky stuff. So mixing it with wrestling, I feel like that was a good mix. And even though obviously being in the crowd, people get to see Nikki, but not even able to see what happens behind the scenes of everything else. I do love that whole visual that happened last night. And you think like that video itself now, it has millions of views on Twitter. I think it was at 4 million, if I'm not mistaken, last time I saw it. So thinking of the fact that this is not only the start of a good storyline here happening. The fact that they don't have supernatural powers, so I'm glad they don't have anything like that. That makes it so silly. I also wouldn't involve them in anywhere near the world title because we had that happen with the Fiend, and then it got ruined with the Fiend afterwards, getting involved in the world title and being champion and losing like that. So I just like them putting like all that wreck not only on Raw, but I want it to happen on SmackDown and make it like very unexpected that they could show up anywhere at any time. And I love the visual. Everything last night was really well done. I was so happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the vibe that it gave. I liked the whole feeling of it.
Yeah.
And it was flawless. Like in its presentation, it's flawless. The masks are fantastic. The way they had the smoke and the fact that they literally massacred Gunther and Carmelo Hayes, even though he denies it, and Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Braun Strowman, and all these different people who, like you said, with Weezy, turned their back on family. And that might have been the reason that they were in this shot. Here's the thing. And it's the same thing I said about Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. And it's the hardest thing about all of the stuff that Bray wanted to do beyond the original Wyatt family. How does it make sense in terms of a wrestling match?
Mm-hmm.
I would love it if the Wyatt Six were just people who came in and came out, havoc and destroyed people, but never had a wrestling match. They were like this overarching horror movie villain over the top of WWE, who just came in and plucked people out when they needed to be written off television, like a Ricochet. Like when Ricochet needed to be like, you couldn't wait 1 week, WWE. You couldn't wait 1 week to have them shoot him in the face like they did that poor guy in gorilla position. And poor Master Gable. Did you see what they did to Master Gable? Master Gable had such a terrible day. He lost his match. He had to get rid of his entire group because they were just insolent children who wouldn't listen to him. And then he got murdered. Like,
I love
poor
that part too
Master Gable.
of somebody pointing out the clues that it was Chad Gable that was the target with the CG and like you stopped saying thank you and things like that. And I was like, whoa, I didn't think about that. I remember seeing the CG thing and a lot of people thought Chad Gable, but they were wondering why Chad Gable would have gotten targeted. And then seeing the other people, like looks like a Gunther that got targeted too. Strowman looked like it was another one. So seeing all those people like that basically betrayed somebody in their family. And then obviously the group in itself is people that got betrayed by their family. People are pointing out the clip now of Dexter Loomis with the way, and Nikki is like behind him in the background with the way. So somebody's like, was that Nikki recruiting him to be a part of the group as he was basically getting left off by the way? So like so many things of like that they can bring out later, and I love seeing that. That's little tidbits that we didn't think about until now they get brought up.
Yeah. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at EdFries12584. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EdFries2002. Should my internet allow me, like it did not tonight, but should it allow me, this Thursday night, I will be joining the wonderful Auntie Collins as we go ahead and ramble about Ring of Honor God, I hope the Ring of Honor show's good this time. It wasn't so good last time I was there. And based on the fact that it was over before I remembered it with her and Kimmy last week, they finished before midnight last week. How bad of a Ring of Honor show must it have been if Auntie Collins and Kimmy finished before midnight?
That's true.
But we want to thank you all for joining us. It's been great. I will hopefully be back. Like I said, my internet did not cooperate with me today. It's been a mess. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.